In this next part of the demonstration, we're going to be creating a synchronous part. So you want to change your configuration first of all to the O2 cast part. So we'll turn on the appropriate files that we need for our cast part demonstration. So you want to expand the O2 assembly, and in there you'll find a activated part which is 0100609. You want to double click that to in place activate. You want to make sure that your background parts are shown so you can see that in the context of the assembly, and we just have a sketch out there created. So you just want to fence select the regions, click your arrow, and you want to drag in toward the transaxles, and you want to make this 25 millimeters. Grab the two smaller regions on the sides, and you want to bring those out, and you can type in a dimension if you want to. You don't have to. Get it out to about 80 millimeters. So you can see that that we've started to create this part. The next thing we want to do is create a line on the top, and you just want to lock onto this top face and just come over, about halfway or so between the ear and the edge of the belt, and you just want to create a vertical line. At this point you can hide the background, and what I suggest doing is go to your view and add the hide previous level to the quick access toolbar, and that way it's right there, easy to access. So what you want to do is you want to use the mirror command. You want to pick the sketch that you just created, and then you just want to click the Z axis, and that will give you the mirror plane very quickly. Get it to the other side, and as you drag this, you can drag down into the part to show that it's cutting the part, or you can pull up, and you want to pull up about 75 millimeters or so. Roll the part over, same thing, create a line now on the bottom face, lock onto the plane. You want to come inside of this edge that you just created, create a vertical line, same thing, do the mirror, select the sketch, pick the Z, and very quickly you can create that regions. Again, just drag up to create something that looks like this. The next thing we want to do is add some rounding. Let's go to the round. You want to pick these two top edges, make those 50, and you want to grab the two inside edges, make those 25. So that you can pick a face and begin dragging in with live rules. That's going to modify both sides simultaneously because of the symmetry. Show the background parts again. Show your transaxles that we need to create a mounting ear on each side for the transaxle. You can turn that back off because we're just going to sketch it on this face. And you just want to come up here and click the A on the keyboard to get to a tangent arc. At this point you can key in a value for the radius of 20. We'll lock that in. You just come around until you get the horizontal alignment. Click and it'll go back to a line. You want to make sure that you're tangent to that arc and connect it to the edge. Then you want to come back and draw a 10 millimeter circle. So you have that on one side. We want to mirror that again to the other side. So using the mirror command, you can fence select that sketch, and you want to pick that Z again and get it to the other side. And now you can just quickly grab those two regions and at the same time drag them down to create your solid. Distance doesn't really matter. Of course, we need this to line up with the transaxle, so you want to turn on your background parts again. You can see that it doesn't line up. You want to take and select that hole. You have to wait for quick pick to pick up that cylinder, and you want to pick that small plane again, and you can show that you can just drag this around however you want to. First of all, and if you turn off symmetry, and actually I would suggest turning off coplanar axis, then turn off symmetry, you can show that you could just change one side if you wanted to. But of course this is a symmetric part, so you click the S, that will turn symmetry back on. And you want to change your filter to center point because you want to pick up the center of the hole in the transaxle to align with. So you can see that that lines up perfectly. The next thing that we want to show is that we can turn on a sketch that we have here. I'm going to turn off the background parts here. We have this sketch, and we're going to use this sketch to create a cutout. So you just grab that region. If you pull out, it's going to make a positive. If you push in, it's going to create that cut, and you want to go back about 15 millimeters. Create that cutout on the opposite side, so you want to select that cutout from Pathfinder, select mirror, and pick that small plane to mirror to the opposite side. Next, we want to do is select that face on the mirrored side. Solid Edge doesn't care which side you pick, the symmetry is going to be maintained. You want to make sure that filter is set to endpoint, and you want to pick up this endpoint so that those two faces align with each other. At that point, you can pick this face and pick the inside edge here. Move your steering wheel to find the center of that arc. I like to point the arrow down because that's the direction it's going to be measured from when I go to rotate this. And you can show that that is going to maintain its planar alignment. Stay lined up. You can create that angle. While you're here, you may want to go ahead and relate this face to be always parallel with this inside face and persist that relationship. And right click to accept. And you can go over and show this in the Pathfinder under relationships. You can see you have a parallelism that's always going to be maintained between those two faces. Next thing I'm going to do is turn on the background parts again. You can see that we have this plate that we need to align with, that it's too narrow to fit in this space. So we can fix that by just a fence select of this edge. Make sure you get that inside face of that cutout also. Move your steering wheel to the corner, and you want to make sure that you have the arrow pointing in this direction so that you can drag this over and match up with the inside edge of the sheet metal just by picking up a point there. And so now, because of symmetry, it moved, of course, both sides. The next thing you may want to do is you can see that we aren't quite touching there. So you want to pick up this face, and you also want this inside face of the cutout. Okay. And you want to drag that up until it meets the end point of that round. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is turn off this again. I want to create a dimension from this edge to this point. And we also want to add a couple more dimensions. We want to add a dimension for the height here. If you select that, of course, you can pull this up a little bit, make it about 30. And we want to create a distance between dimension, and we want to use the dimension axis. You want to define the dimension axis by this inside edge, and then you want to pick up that end point of that inside edge to this outside edge, because we also want to control the width of this particular area. Doesn't really matter what dimension you stop on, just go ahead and lock it. And we're also going to lock this dimension. And then we're going to create a formula again by just simply selecting this 30 millimeter to make those two equal. And you can right click to accept. And that way you can show when you modify this dimension, it's going to change and keep those equal. And you want to make those 25. If I take this dimension now then and modify it, you can see that it's going to maintain all of those other dimensions that I have locked. I'm going to make that 140. And now I'm going to change the height of this particular piece. Now you can see as I'm dragging this down that 140 dimension now is changing. That may not be what I want. I may have wanted to maintain that and change the angle. So there's an option in here to tip, and you can see as you drag that dimension, then it's changing the angle of that U shape and maintaining that 40. So I want to change this to 80, and then go back and just add a dimension here to pull this back down to 10 millimeters. Now we want to add some side holes to mount this thing. So we'll turn on our background parts here. You can see that we have some holes in our frame already. So what I'm going to do is just use the include. I'm going to pick up this face and I'm going to include these 3 circles. And then you just want to pick up those regions defined by the 3 circles. And we want to cut through the part, and we want to cut all the way through both sides. And you can see that we have a little bit of problem that we ended up cutting into our part, which is not necessarily what we wanted to do.